Hello and welcome everybody to the launch party of IBC token transfers. We have with us today Hong, the CEO of Interchain. We have Zaki, who is mini position extraordinaire at Fusion, Peggy JP, some Elliot, list goes on. And we have Ethan Buckman, the co-founder of Cosmos, CEO, Informal, and vice president of the Interchain Foundation. Am I getting audio feedback for everybody?
Yeah.
A little feedback.
Let me see if it goes away. You can't see behind my rocket face their headphones now. Is the audio okay?
Say something?
Is the audio okay?
It's about the same.
Really? Damn. Okay. Well, I will talk as little as possible and just ask extremely loaded questions. So I'd like to begin with you, Hong. Have you made an IBC token transfer?
I did. You know, it was ages ago, actually 120 seconds ago. Billy helped me do an IBC transaction for the first time using Keplr. Definitely mind-blowing technology. And I'm glad I got a chance to use it and be able to say yes to this question.
Congratulations. Zaki, have you done an IBC token transfer?
I have, and Billy showed me how, and that was amazing. It was pretty cool. And someone relayed my transaction. It was amazing. Yeah. This is the first time I've done a non-command line IBC token transfer.
And Ethan, have you done a token transfer?
I am ashamed to admit I have not, but people under my have on my behalf. So that will count for me.
And that's what it means to be on the Foundation Council. People do this kind of stuff. Right?
Too senior at this point to be sending his own IBC transactions.
I too have done a token transfer. I did the third token transfer of all time. And in order to prove this, and also dox myself, I'm going to share my screen. And we're going to see.
Billy, it looks like you're inside an IBC transaction yourself, right? You're currently en route to Mars or something in your rocket.
Yeah. This is part of the OK with me chain ID chain, the very first IBC connection. So here we are. This is my block explorer evidence. I sent 0.01 in block 304, ending with 304. Here, we can see the very first one, about 100 blocks before me from Josh at Keplr. The other thing I would like to show, and just another browser tab away, is map of zones. So map of zones have been going over a lot of updates, and it's currently working live with all active IBC token transfers. Here you can see the Cosmos Hub and the 5 first networks that are successfully sending token transfers.
So I think it's a little bit blurry for people, but if you want to go take a look yourself, go to mapofzones.com. And you might have to click on this little 3D icon in the right to see this amazing view of all the chains that are connected to the hub right now.
Including this cool unicorn chain ID, which is already breaking validation. And of course, OK with me chain, the very first connection to the Cosmos Hub. Cool. So working backwards from before, Ethan, what are you most excited about that's possible today that wasn't this morning before 8:45 UTC?
Yeah, I'm excited for the possibilities for people to use atoms on new chains, be able to spin up chains with validator sets that are either controlled by themselves or small groups, and to use them to either distribute atoms in new kinds of community pools with different kinds of logic, to experiment with different kinds of say bonding curves and different sorts of fundraising. all kinds of fun stuff you can now do backed by Atom on new chains. So I think we're going to see an explosion of experimentation in new zones and logic to handle assets.
Well,
Zach,
in particular,
you're next up. Oh,
before we
go
move
ahead.
on, just in particular, what you can do, right now, which you can do, a few hours ago, is that you're able to send your atoms to some incredibly shady chains, like OK with me, or like the unicorn chain, and you have no idea where those atoms are right now, and if you'll ever get them back. That's something else you can do.
So let's be very clear. Once you send your atoms on the
mean,
hub right now, they may as well be gone because you're fully trusting those other. So, beware.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole user beware of IBC is like in full force right now, right? It's really cool sending atoms. It's really cool that someone relays them. It's unclear who. There's pieces of this infrastructure running, but there's a long way to go to make this safe and secure. But this is a great place to start doing your initial experimentation and sending atoms into wild and crazy new blockchains that can do all kinds of different things.
And Pong, did I fix my audio? Is this any better?
Yeah, it's much better.
Woo!
Yeah,
Pong. That's so good. What are you feeling is the most exciting thing you want to do today that you couldn't do yesterday?
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about Starport a little bit here. So what you can do now is actually launch a new chain with your own new token and send it to the Cosmos Hub. I think that's really cool. And anyone here on this call can do that today. That's something you can do before.
And maybe what's like the aha behind that statement is anybody who's familiar with some of the new bridges that are available in Ethereum world, these are all bespoke and like custom design interactions where they've tried to marry two different EVM chains based on different security assumptions, mostly trusted groups of people who just hold your money for you. All of those require custom engineering and custom design for all of those connections. IBC is a scalable and a range of security out of the box. Nobody needs like permission or infrastructure to set this up. You can just send the requisite transactions between two networks and you get the security of both of those validator sets as the integrity of this connection. And that's what we mean earlier about these sketchy chains, because you should do your homework. What is the security of the chain before you connect to it? That's the scary part and the exciting part. If you look at this block explorer again, who is SPN? Is that a single computer inside of somebody's basement? Or is that like a multi-billion-dollar network who has hundreds of validators and extreme sort of amounts of money securing this? That is what the Cosmos Hub is offering, and that's what a number of the first launch partners who are all launching IBC will also offer. But we aren't picky. You know what I mean? IBC does not make any qualms about you and your basement blockchain joining up, and that's the beauty of it. There's fully open access to this protocol that anyone can start transferring through.
Yeah. Everybody all these networks that we're seeing, they didn't have to ask governance for permission to connect to the network, to send atoms. We didn't vet the credentials of their validators. They just joined and they're part of the network. They can issue coins on the hub. They can and they can accept atoms from the hub and engage in whatever economic utility that they want to build on top of it.
Yeah, if I wanted to play it fast and loose with regulation, I could spend up a single validator chain and start selling my own token on my chain for atoms. People could move real life atoms over to my single validator chain, exchange them for my sketchy, probably illegal token chain, and move it back out into the wider ecosystem, move it over to Agoric and try to lock them up for CDP, or into Kava, lock it up for CDP and use a stable token. I mean, this stuff just works. You can't see my fingers doing out of the box with quotation marks, but there's some version of out of the box that it does.
Yeah, I want to reiterate that it's the very early days for IBC right now. In fact, someone's basement chain could have the chain ID Cosmos Hub 4, and they could have an Atom token right now, and they could pretend to send you fake atoms in return for something that you might value. So, we are working on a number of safety measures, like a canonical chain ID system to reduce some of this risk. But right now, anything is possible, and you want to be
be careful. But one of my favorite metaphors for this is like, if you imagine Silicon Valley in the 90s or something like that, there's a bunch of different people with like personal computers and different server architectures in their garages. And they all heard that TCP/IP was going to be able to make all these computers connect to each other. TCP/IP is just now available. So this like number of computers and like isolated garages are just updating their software in order to have it. And they're basically rolling out the Ethernet cables between all these houses across their sort of networks of networks and neighborhoods of neighborhoods. So this is day one. Do not expect, AOL and Facebook style access and integration. It wasn't until, Web 2 with like high-speed internet that probably most of you ever even used the internet. So this is early days. There do be dragons, be careful, but also get excited because this is the first sort of wave of .com. This is the first time that the internet itself sort of has its access. So get your your modems all lined up, get ready to sort of like enjoy the sharp edges of that sound when you connect to the internet for the very first time with your dial-up modem, and dig in. So we have another few minutes on this first session. I would like to ask each of you your private keys and your mnemonic phrases. No, I mean, you're each working on different areas that overlap in large and small ways. Out of the sort of like probably dozens of things that you guys are responsible for pushing along, what is the thing that now feels more accessible than it did yesterday? The thing that's now has like more priority because all of a sudden transfers are enabled for within each of your sort of purviews. Peng, do you want to begin?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of things we're working on that rely on IBC, but one of the coolest things I think for Atom holders is the Gravity DEX. So we're working, Tendermint is working in collaboration with bHarvest to bring about an interchain automated market maker DEX in the vein of Uniswap, allowing people who create tokens on new chains, or who have tokens on chains today like Akash or IrisNet or Terra, etc., to be able to send these tokens onto the Cosmos Hub, create liquidity pools with them with the Atom, and trade them with other people.
Oh yeah, and one of the sort of really cool things about that DEX is that it has batch transactions, right? So it's going to be much harder for minor extractable value. This is a sort of systemic problem inside of Ethereum world. The Uniswap sort of style module also has adjustable LP positions, as I understand. There's a lot of really cool features that go into really pushing this past Uniswap as a basis. Zaki, you work closely on some of the gravity-related stuff. What would you say is for you the thing that's most primary in your purview, which has now become reprioritized or made more real with IBC token transfers enabled?
So, there's two things that I think I've been very excited about. One, so like primarily what I'm working on with the Althea team and the Peggy JV team and the Similiate team is Ethereum interoperability, which is sort of one of the pieces of the IBC picture that still hasn't come to fruition yet, and we're sort of hard at work on that. The other thing I think I'm really generally excited about is like sort of incentives. So I think that you're going to see there's a lot of potential, but a lot of code that needs to be written for incentives for locking atoms on a chain, for incentives for providing liquidity. I think these are going to be like the big things that IBC unlocks. There's also just like the airdrop space explodes right now. I'm really excited about that, and the options for like airdropping new token sets, token distributions that are connected to the hub.
Nice. I think tokens distribution airdrop is certainly something people in the chat would be excited about. When I think about Ethereum interoperability, I also think about Atom inside of the Ethereum DeFi area, and what does that mean for Atoms to be over there? What does it mean to expose Ethereum, Ether holders basically to acquiring Atoms on decentralized exchanges, moving them over the bridge, and starting to stake and earn rewards as staking is part of DeFi, and it's part of DeFi that hasn't had nearly enough exposure, I think, in Ethereum world. And I mean, that stuff's already going to become accessible more so.
Yeah, I'm really excited about being able to run more and more of Occlusion's business without having to interact with centralized exchanges for, paying salaries and stuff like that.
But at the same time, right, we don't want people to be moving all their atoms off of the hub, right? It still provides security for the hub. So I think one of the features we're looking into, around this year is going to be staking derivatives, right? Which allows you to do stuff like continue staking on the hub, but get that liquidity, perhaps move it over to, Ethereum.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Exactly. So for Ethereum users who are still new to all this stuff, that means that you could have atoms staked on the hub earning APY. You can take derivatives of those atoms and move them over to Ethereum and stake those inside of some other like Yearn type protocol and be earning kind of double rewards on those, or put them up as liquidity in sort of a marketplace. There's all sorts of crazy compounding, dangerous stuff that you can get into. Speaking of, that's your favorite subject, isn't it, Ethan? What are you most excited about, or what's changed, or what will change from tomorrow onwards, today onwards, now that transfers are enabled for you in your life?
Well, one thing is the relayer, the Rust relayer we've been working on called Hermes, now has, now can actually help deliver value literally by relaying packets. So that's exciting that this thing we've been working on for so long is finally able to run, and we'll keep improving it and making it more stable and so on. But if you're looking to set up zones and try out a relayer, check out Hermes. The other big thing that is going to increase in importance is shared security, and the idea of actually having the atoms that are on the hub being used to secure other zones as well. So right now, anyone can stand up a zone and connect permissionlessly, which is great. But I think we also want, and there's a lot of demand for zones that are secured by the atoms on the hub, and therefore, you have more guarantees on that. So IBC as a protocol is like a general purpose protocol platform. We like to think of it as, and there's a lot of additional protocol, application level protocols that can be built on top. And so shared security is one of them, that now that we have this IBC building block, we can build lots of different things on top of it for new ways to coordinate and communicate between different zones. So that's something we're really excited about.
I love that. Delivering value is literally the job of a relayer. Maybe you can talk really briefly for high level, for anybody who's new to this. What is a relayer? Why does it matter? Why do we need it?
Yeah, so you can think of blockchains like computers. They're machines, logical machines that run across many physical computers. And if they want to actually talk to each other, we have this concept of them being able to send messages back and forth, but they don't have physical network cards and cables directly connecting them the way we do on the normal internet, let's say, right? And so when one blockchain wants to send a message to another, it posts that message into its state. And then some off-chain process, which we call a relayer, detects that and relays it to the other chain. So the relayers are basically these monitoring processes that monitor different blockchains for outgoing events, outgoing messages, and they take those messages and they send them as transactions to other blockchains. And so they form the actual connection, the physical connection, you could think of it, between the two chains that allows information to actually flow between them.
You can think of it as your local friendly mail person, right? Who delivers mail from your house to someone else's house.
Exactly. You put the mail in the box at the at the end of your lawn or whatever, and then they pick it up and take it wherever it's going.
Yeah, the one version of that I often think of too for, again, any Ether people is meta transactions. So if you're familiar with that concept in Ethereum, you basically sign a transaction, but you don't submit it yourself. Somebody else will submit it on your behalf and pay the gas for that processing. And so IBC works a little bit like that. You sort of sign something that starts an outgoing message on a blockchain, and then a relayer sees that, wraps it up in a new transaction, and moves it over to the other blockchain to submit it on your behalf, the sort of original intention that came from you. And yeah, just like a postman too. And this is now sort of doing international.
The fees is sort of like the postage that you pay, right?
Exactly. So Peng, you wanted to do a little bit of a demo walkthrough. Should we begin that now, or do you want to do another round of questions?
We could do another round of questions. I wanted to sort of pick up on what you guys were talking about with relayers. So one question that came up in chat, I just saw from BZQOY, is will future chains be able to bootstrap without having to write code for IBC? Will it be integrated in Tendermint? And the answer to that is you don't have to write much IBC code, right? If you use Starport, the bootstrapping framework, it comes with a built-in relayer. In fact, it comes with 2 built-in relayers. It uses the fantastic Go relayer that the Interchain GmbH team is working on to transact transactions, interchange transactions in the CLI, and also integrates the TypeScript relayer that I think Confio has built. Is that right?
Yeah, TypeScript relayers from Confio.
Right. So the TypeScript relayer is integrated in the front end, so you're able to create interchange transactions from like a front end that's scaffolded for you. So no, very little IBC code should be written or should need to be written for you to send tokens from a new chain to the hub.
Now I'm just looking through all these questions and answers. I'm excited about these, trying to pick out a good one. Sending transactions from Iris to a cache through the Cosmos Hub. How do you pay for gas transaction? How do you pay gas for TX and which assets? So what's really cool about Cosmos SDK and the Tendermint validator sets is that currently, Atom is basically the only asset that exists on the hub. Now with token transfers, that's not true, but you can set your fee in any token that you'd like. You could actually write it in any denom, and it becomes up to the validators themselves to evaluate whether or not they're willing to accept that fee. So there's a concept of gas, and there's also a concept of a gas price. And if you don't include an explicit fee, the fee just becomes the gas times the gas price, just like Ethereum. However, you have the opportunity to overwrite that with your own custom denom and your own fee. You could say, I'm going to send and pay this with 1 Billy token. And as long as my account has 1 Billy token, and as long as at least one validator is willing to include that transaction in a block in exchange for that 1 Billy token, it can get processed on the blockchain. So this is a way that you can have essentially as many fee tokens as you want to have a lot of flexibility around sending between blockchains. But it's ultimately up to the economics of the validators to say, is this token worth my time? So they can do a quick napkin math exchange and say like, oh yeah, this is worth 3 atoms right now. It's worth my time, I'll take it. And I might even submit my own DEX transaction to sell it for atoms. This kind of stuff could be automated. This is all sort of around user experience. With Cosmos SDK, you can batch messages into a single transaction. So you could do things like buy, sell, and then submit a third transaction, all of that sort of atomically in one. A lot of cool daisy chaining that becomes possible with DeFi in that sort of design space. It was a little bit of a tangent. Is there something else related to the relayers and Starport that you wanted to touch on, Pong, or something else before we jump into demo?
We can jump into it.
Awesome.
All right, I'll spend 3 or 4 minutes going over real quick the new Cosmos website. So you can visit it by going to cosmos.network. Let me share my screen. It just came out earlier today, and in fact, our front-end team was busy working throughout the night to get this out there for you guys. Here's a new homepage, right? And with the Cosmos Hub at the center. We talk about sort of all the blockchains that exist right now that we know about built on the Cosmos SDK, how much value is secured across a lot of the chains that are on mainnet right now that are listed, let's say on the likes of CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, et cetera. We put the hub front and center now. We explain the services that the hub provides and how they're all secured through the Atom, right? This website is meant to target, not us, right? But it's meant to target the future group of Atom holders right now. Last time I checked, there were roughly about 70,000 Atom stakers on the Cosmos Hub right now, which is really cool, right? But what we want to do here is bring it from 70,000 to 700,000, right? And that means explaining to people what the heck the Atom is, what staking is, right? How to get Atoms, how to stake it using a wallet, et cetera. Some really basic stuff that all of you guys already know, but is information that's missing for a lot of people who want to get into this. Beyond that, we also want to get people excited as to what's coming up next, right? So on this features page, this sort of features / roadmap page, we're explaining some of the things that are here and some of the really exciting things that are coming, right? So right now you can stake, you can vote, but beyond that, we think the hub could be used as a way to manipulate your crypto addresses on other blockchains altogether. So imagine sort of like remote controlling your other accounts on other chains than the hub itself. Like I mentioned before, one of the most immediate upcoming features that has been signaled for approval by atom holders, the Gravity DEX, and we're working with bHarvest right now to get this out the door. We'll have announcements coming in the coming weeks. The Gravity Bridge project that Peggy JV, including Zaki here and others who are working on an Ethereum bridge directly to the hub itself, that's also coming very shortly later on this year. And then some of the bigger things, like one Ethan mentioned earlier, shared security, right? Interchain staking is a way for the hub to share its security with chains that are adjacent to it. I think that'll be a really great feature to encourage more chains to connect to the hub and to form this sort of interchain alliance around the hub. Staking derivatives mentioned is also coming, allowing you to stake your tokens, but also have some sort of liquidity to use on other networks, including potentially Ethereum. There's a lot to process on this new website. Definitely go check it out. We have a market cap page as well now, finally, that shows there's over 70 billion in digital assets secured across 30 chains built on the Cosmos SDK. And we think this list will greatly increase in size over time, and we'll be adding features as well. Some of the pages still link to the old website, and we're very busy working on fixing those and putting everything onto the new page. Take a look. Hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, really great work.
Amazing.
Really, really great work. I think it's a huge improvement in the navigational abilities of the Cosmos network from Cosmos.network.
Also amazing to see that roadmap, which is all of those sort of parallel efforts that are happening right now that are really going to, make up this Atom 2021 ambitious roadmap. I think.
Yeah, it's not a linear roadmap, right? We got 15 plus teams working on features all at the same time in parallel, and it's going to be up to the Atom holders to decide what they want on the hub.
Exactly. That one, the Interchain accounts is one that's especially close to my heart. Team here at Interchain GmbH has been working on it. This is the one that basically allows one blockchain to have an account on another blockchain. This is what allows basically like local DAOs. You and your sort of community can run a local blockchain in which maybe you and a couple of your other friends each run the validators. You can pool together your money and then collectively manage it. This is sort of like the hedge fund blockchain formula. It also means that other major networks can collectively manage their funds with a community pool. So imagine if Terra or Kava or Iris, they took all of the atoms that they own collectively, put them in a community pool, and they start staking them on the hub. As a network, they start earning money together by securing other networks. You sort of have this tangle of security that starts crossing all of these sort of networks, being able to interact with each other in this like account system way. It's also a little bit like smart contracts being the same as a private key contract on Ethereum. Cool, so we're wrapping up at the minute mark here. Is there any sort of final notes? You guys, seminal moment. Congratulations, all the work that you've done.
Woo. Congrats all around.
Congrats, everyone.
Yeah, thanks very much.
The exciting time in the internet of blockchain, so remember to be careful.
Yeah, final warning. IBC is production ready, but it is new, and it is not as battle tested in production beyond the sort of incentivized test nets. So only
speaking of battle
amounts.
Testing, right? The very next session is going to be all about battle testing, as some of our developers show off what's capable, what's possible with IBC today.
Exactly.
And
hello,
we're back.
Hello. We're back. A brand new host has arrived to welcome IBC is live on the Cosmos Hub. We have Pong from our last session, CEO of Tendermint. We have Dennis. Dennis, what are you head of? You're just head of dev experience. You're head of Starport. I don't know exactly what to call you. Besides
developer experience, and we are working on Starport first.
That undersells everything that you do. Dennis is a personal superhero of mine, as well as Josh, another personal superhero of mine. Dojmos, you may know him as CEO of Chainapsis, building Keplr, working on many fun projects like Osmosis, and the very first author of the very first IBC token transfer. Let's give a moment for a round of applause for that huge achievement. Also the enabler of the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, most likely token transfer by working on Keplr itself. So thanks for joining me today. I understand we're going to do some demos here. Do you want to give a little bit of a summary of what the demos are before we jump into them? Should we do Keplr first?
Yep, I can do that. So yeah, before I begin, this version of Keplr is, if you have Keplr installed on your browser, it should work on your browser. That being said, I do want to give a little bit of a warning telling you that like Cosmos Hub is the only mainnet chain with real money that has IBC transfers enabled. So anything that you do transferring atoms out, and the other testnet chain or hack atom chains decide to shut down, like that means your atoms will be gone. So please, yeah, just please be careful on it. I'll post the detailed instructions later on. I was a little bit scared that if I shared this, people would start sending atoms to different chains, and then one of these channels would get lost. But that being said, let's get right to it. Let me share my screen. All right, so can everyone see my screen?
Kind of small. Can it take over somehow?
Give me 1 second. Let me reshare my screen, change my display settings.
Oh no, I think it filled your screen completely. I was just thinking the configuration of our 4 cameras.
Oh, gotcha.
I'll ping Shen in the background and see if I can help with it.
I think this should also help things out a little bit. Let me reshare my screen. And yeah, this way I think people would be able to see Keplr a little better. So yeah, I've went ahead and added 2 chains, both testnets. One is Iris, one is the Hack Atom chain, the Photon chain, ahead of the time. You will need to have.
Wait a minute, Josh. Are these like real photons? I heard they were going to be hard spooned off of Ethereum or something. What is this thing?
Unfortunately, these aren't real photons, and this is something that I think everyone needs to be aware of, because who knows, right? Like someone might just start up a Starport chain called, I don't know, Ethermint, and call the tokens photons and be like, hey, the photons launched, and I will sell you, in private before I, announce it to everyone. If you send me 100 atoms, and I'll give you 100K photons. And this is a real possibility, and you want to spin up a chain and basically transact across chains. So this is something that everyone should be careful about. So yeah, these aren't real tokens. I mean, they are real tokens, right? But they're probably valueless or close to zero, in my opinion. So
they're close to zero. In fact, you can get photons through a faucet, I believe. We can give you the link later.
Yeah, and yeah, so everyone can get photons. They're not actual. I mean, they are actual photons, but they're not actual photons. So yeah. So yeah, let's get things started. So if you have these chains connected, add it to Keplr, and I've done that through this dev.wallet.keplr.app, where we kind of do a lot of the new experimentation there. You can add it by going to the very bottom here. We have the Photon testnet and the Nyan Cat, which is the Iris testnet here. And if you go to that website, you will get a bunch of pop-ups asking you to connect. This is our development website, so things won't be working as well. But you should be able to add these 2 chains by going to that website. Now, this Cosmos and this one atom that I have right here are real atoms, actual on the Cosmos Hub. So if I kind of head over to this IBC transfer here, and it'll bring me to this modal telling me to go select my destination chain. Now, that being said, you will have to initially add a new token transfer channel. We won't give that for you initially until I think we will see some actual channels kind of stabilize and know that which channels are being used most, which channels have a lot of relayers running and which don't. Because if one of these channels decide to shut down, there's a pretty good chance that you might not be able to get your atoms back after you send it to another chain. So like for right now, I'm just gonna add a new IBC channel. And let's say I want to send my atoms to the Photon testnet. You will have to add the channel ID. The one that seems to work, that is working right now is channel 66. If I save, it'll add that chain here. If you put some, I don't know, channel that's 0, it'll probably give you an error saying that the client is not for Gaia Photon. So we do have some safety mechanism of knowing which chains you're sending to. But for now, let's send it to this Photon testnet.
So the channel is in fact like a channel on the hub, right? These are like 66 different channels on the hub, and the 66 is probably the one that goes to Photon chain.
Yep, that's exactly correct. And if went ahead and saved my hub address here to the Photon testnet, since the Photon testnet is basically Gaia, it's the same address as my Cosmos, and it can say, hello, IBC, and just go next. And let's say I want to send, I don't know, 0.1 atoms, right? And these are real atoms being sent to a testnet. So it's pretty cool. And then tell you, it's an IBC transfer, sending to this account through channel 66. Just got to set my fees and approve. Now, this part will take a little bit of time because, first of all, the transaction will have to be confirmed on the Cosmos Hub, and then it will have to be picked up by the relayer, which is currently being run by Tendermint, and be sent to the HackAtom Hub / Photon zone. Not sure what the exact chain ID is there, but and then be committed there. So it's been sent over. Obviously, I had 0.99 atoms. Now it's a little less, I think. And
if you're ever unsure, who's actually relaying your tokens, in most cases, it's going to be Helder. Helder is our SRE engineer here at Tendermint, and he's been helping us spin up a lot of these chains.
Yeah.
So you're giving up your real atoms to Helder, and you have to trust him.
Mm-hmm. So I've just switched over to the Photon testnet, and as you can see, I have 0.1 real atoms on the testnet that I've just transferred through Keplr, through the relayer, through IBC, which is
amazing.
And and it's the same thing back, and it's pretty cool because I can transfer these back to the Cosmos Hub. Once I've sent atoms to this chain, Keplr will remember which channel the token came from, basically. So you don't have to do the whole setting the transfer channel back from the Photon chain back to the Cosmos Hub. Just kind of select it and put your address in, and let's say, instead of photons, I want to send back the atom, right? So right now I have 0.1 atoms here. I can do 0.05. Approve. And obviously this will take some time. And 0.05. And now we switch over to Cosmos. And still waiting, I think, for things to be refreshed. But there we go. Now we have the 0.05 atoms back, and I still have 0.05 atoms. And it's the same thing when you're trying to transfer over, let's say, from YanCat to the hub. You can transfer this asset to Cosmos, and it's channel 0 for YanCat to Cosmos Hub 4. And select it, put my address, and hello from Cat chain. And let's say I'll send over 1,000 of these testnet tokens. Approve. And now we just wait. And that seems to have worked. And let's look at Cosmos.
That's amazing.
It will have to be reloaded, I think.
My favorite part about this is just sort of like how scalable the connections are. Like if you think about using MetaMask and adding another chain ID, that's great that you can talk to that chain, but that does not include the ability to transfer between other chains. You have to go through these really, bespoke made things. And this is an interface and the ability to just get a bridge between any network that has IBC, just adding it to that dropdown, letting an app sort of prompt you to add it to that dropdown, and just being able to start sending it immediately without asking anybody's sort of help. So cool.
I saw a question asking, this is for you, Josh. Can you send Yancat to Photon?
Yes, but the issue there, I mean, theoretically, yes, but the issue there is no transfer channel between Yancat and Photon. So someone will have to initiate that channel. Someone will have to be running the relayer. And I think this is another thing where I think the value of the hub comes from is it's very likely that the Cosmos Hub will host a lot of these connections to different chains. So, you know, if I'm a new chain trying to access a different zone or move my assets to some very far away zone, rather than me having to kind of find that person, initiate a channel, I could basically utilize a very secure, very well maintained and highly connected Cosmos Hub as kind of the proxy to approach a big array of zones that are connected to the Cosmos Hub. So yeah, but you know, if you wanted to, you could definitely kind of run your own relayer, connect these two chains, and transfer to these testnet tokens back and forth.
Yeah, that's ultimately one of the big value adds of the hub itself. You know, it's discoverability, it's routing, it's being a hub instead of an internet of blockchains. You know, instead of in-squared connections between blockchains where each one needs their own sort of dedicated relayer services, you just all connect to a single hub or a couple hubs like the IrisNet as well, and you're able to sort of have that route already figured out. But what's also really great, and I said earlier that this sort of allows for permissionless ability to connect between chains. You did sort of immediately point out the fact that there is a relayer that's needed between these things. But what's really cool about relayers in general is that technically anybody could do this relayer job. You don't need permission to be this. The wallet itself could eventually provide this. I know Keplr has a really ambitious roadmap, and this probably isn't going to be anything you see soon. But because relayers are written in TypeScript, they're written in Rust.
The wallet itself having a relayer might be a good time to go on to Starport, the Starport demo. I don't know how long it'll take, but we should probably start with that and then open the discussion up.
Dennis, take it away.
So you should be able to see my screen right now. Hopefully we have enough time. What I will be doing first is I will be scaffolding a chain. It will be called world. So this process will take a couple of seconds. So I'll briefly explain what I will be doing. So once the chain is scaffolded, I will run it. So let's do it right now. So in config.yaml, we see all the tokens that this chain will have. I'll just add 1,000 food tokens just to have more. And we'll launch this chain. The chain will be launched locally with Starport.
Is there some way you could like increase the text size a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's much better. So at a high level, what is this demo, Dennis? What are you trying to do? It looks like you're creating a chain here, and then what?
Yes, so we are creating a chain, and once this chain is launched, we will open up the UI, the browser-based UI, which is inside this view directory, which was scaffolded for us by Starport, and we will use this UI. So you can see that it's a wallet-like UI with send tokens, and we will use one of the accounts generated for us, in this case, Alice, and we will sign in, basically import Alice's mnemonic.
So this is a brand new wallet for a brand new blockchain. Is that right? With foo, stake, and tokens.
Absolutely. In a second, I will explain more because this process takes a while. So I want to initiate this process first. So what we will do is we will connect to the hub. So we will create a relayer, and first we'll send tokens to this relayer, and I'll explain everything. Right now, I just need to send tokens. Let's wait a couple of seconds.
That was Atom tokens, right?
Yes. So now that I reached this important step, I will explain in more detail what happened. So yes, we did scaffold the chain. We launched it. We added some tokens called foo. Then we opened the UI that was generated for us. Like, this UI is very customizable. You can use it to build your own application. And it includes wallet functionality, but now it also includes relayer functionality. So this relayer is a TypeScript relayer that runs in the browser. So what it does is it has two wallets, one for the chain that we've created and one for the hub. So it told me what address it is using on the hub, and it asked me to, well, send tokens to it so that relayer can establish a connection, right? Relayer needs Atom tokens to establish a connection with the hub. So I opened Keplr and sent just a bit atoms, a small amount to this address, and I pressed connect.
It was only 0.1 atoms, right? How many transactions do you think a relayer can do with that?
Well, this relayer right now is set for like a very small fee, right? So it doesn't use a lot of Atom, but it takes a while to set it up. We did this for development purposes, but in production, of course, it will be much faster. So while this is setting up, I will also sign in with Bob's account in a separate window.
There was a question about this, Dennis, in chat,
yep.
And they're asking, will there be support for Keplr within Starport? They're saying
absolutely.
is bad UX.
It's useful for development purposes. Like, if you're just playing with it, it's very convenient. You don't need to install anything. But yes, Keplr will just be another option. Eventually, Ledger will be there as well. But yeah, Keplr is high priority. And it's great that it's easy to integrate, so it shouldn't take us long to do that. So the relayer is still setting up. Can't really make it faster right now, but the channel is opening, so it's almost the final step. So we can see that it's linked.
I just tried out, I wanted to figure out my own napkin math for how many transactions the relayer can relay. So you moved 0.01 Atom, that's like a cent of Atom, and it should be able to transfer 125 messages with 1 cent. So I think this question often comes up of who's going to pay for the relayer. And for the initial sort of phase, it becomes sort of an altruistic thing. Somebody's just going to pay for them to make sure things are moving. Very quickly, it becomes easy for the user to sort of pay those follow-up relayer payments. But just sort of like, it's nice to be able to wrap your mind around the idea that 1 cent pays for 125 IBC messages between, roughly.
So going back to the mail service analogy, this is like, let's say FedEx is transferring all of these packets for us for free across the world, but they have a donation box, right? And they're accepting donations.
Yes, so we saw that the relayer connected to the hub successfully. Now we can send 1,000 foo tokens to Alice's account, but on the hub. So we'll be doing that. And we can see that transaction has been initiated. It takes a while. We're using one of the nodes to check for the balance. So let's see what we have. So we have our UAtom. We used just apparently 100 UAtom. So you can do it very cheaply. Let's wait until we get our tokens. I mean, we can wait until acknowledgement is received, but so yeah, foo tokens were transferred successfully from our world chain to Cosmos Hub. This is Alice's account on Cosmos Hub. We can send more tokens, but what we can also do is we can go into the CLI and actually try to send these tokens back. So we'll be using TX, IBC transfer function, transfer port. Then we're using channel. We're going inside the relayer to see what channel was opened for us. It's 86. Now we're going to be sending this to Bob's account. And we will be sending this denom and 500 of them. From Alice, we do need to specify a node because we are sending this transaction to Cosmos Hub. And let's also specify chain ID just to make sure, and gas prices. So yeah, we're using channel 86, confirming transaction, and let's see what happens. So what I expect to happen is that now Alice should have 500 tokens. 500 tokens were sent back to, not back to Bob, but to Bob. So if we go into dashboard, we can see foo tokens. So let me just spend a couple of minutes explaining what happened. So Alice had an account on blockchain called World. She had foo tokens. She created a relayer from her World chain to Cosmos Hub, sent foo tokens to Cosmos Hub, 1,000 of them. We confirmed that she indeed received them. She decided to send 500 these foo tokens, essentially vouchers from Cosmos Hub, back to World chain, but to Bob. And Bob received these 500 foo tokens, and they were properly unlocked. So vouchers were burned, and tokens were unlocked on World chain. And now Bob has 500 tokens.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, if we have time, we can send tokens to Photon, or we can do something else. But yeah, this is amazing because we essentially did it all client side, which is very cool. And yeah, Alice still has 500 tokens.
Woo! I feel like demos need to come with audio tracks built into them for the sort of emphasis that's deserved. What a momentous sort of demonstration that is.
So I timed it, right? So I timed it, and Dennis created a new chain with a new token connected to the hub with a new relayer in the browser, all within 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm. And that being said, once Keplr support is ready, that chain will have basically built-in wallet support. Within probably, that would maybe add like 15 more seconds to that or something.
Amazing.
So yeah, one last thing I will try. I tried to send 100 foo tokens from the Cosmos Hub actually to Photon chain. So let me go to Photon and query for balance. And we will query. We did send to Bob's account. So Bob received 100 tokens from Alice, from the hub, onto Photon. So if we try to decode this using the API, I don't remember it by, but I think it's IBC denom traces. So if we paste this, what we will see is that it transferred from channel 86. This is from World to Cosmos Hub. and then we send it to Photon from Cosmos Hub, so it transfers through channel 0 currently, and the base denom is foo. So we're on the Photon chain, but the base denom is foo from my local world chain. So yeah, it can get a bit confusing at times, but it's amazing that it works.
The
So cool.
2-hop token, right? From world to the Cosmos Hub to Photon.
Yeah, 2-hop token. And we can send them back, but we don't have enough time, but it's pretty easy to do.
You're so close to enabling my ultimate dream, which is just sending assets in a giant circle over and over and over and over again until they're the longest chain of all time.
This is the atom, photon, atom, photon, atom, photon, atom token.
I love it. Great demo, Dennis. Really fantastic work. I mean, yeah, we were just sort of picking up from Keplr that this left out the whole aspect of the relayer, but you can see here how easy it is to sort of spin up and repeatable, how repeatable this is as well. Doesn't matter what's on the other side of IBC, as long as it has IBC, there's such a variety of chains which are able to sort of support this just as out of the box with the SDK. So cool.
Yeah, you can create multiple relayers. So that's also pretty interesting from the browser. So if we had more time, we would be able to create a relayer from Photon to Yan chain, whatever. It will still work.
We've got Josh on the call here as well, who made winmainnet.com. Anybody hasn't seen that? Who are the next sort of IBC upgrade users that we can expect to start sending their tokens into people's basements?
I mean, obviously you could start up a new Starport chain and be the next chain to do that. But in terms of some of the larger, kind of more well-known mainnets, I believe IrisNet will be enabling token transfers on April 3rd, as far as I know. And Akash basically already enabled IBC. They should be enabling token transfers soon as well. And then beyond that, I'm not 100% sure. But if any of you other chain developers are watching, it's a race. Like, you guys should do this ASAP because things are going to get heated up real fast.
Amazing. So we're at the end of our session, I believe. Stick around though, because up next we're going to do some talks with the actual IBC core developers. First session will be with Chris Goes, Colin, Aditya, and Federico, all at Interchain GmbH. And we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of what the 5-year journey of IBC has been like. Thanks so much for joining me, you all, and fantastic demos. Great work.
Thank you.
Welcome, everybody. Core IBC contributors. Thanks for joining me today. I am, during this session, being your CryptoKitty space cat, I guess. Maybe I can do a quick round, introduce you, and you can say something about yourself. We've got Chris Goes, the lead designer of the IBC spec. What is exactly, how should I intro you? He has lost his headphones. We're going to move on to Federico, longtime Cosmos contributor, latest on the IBC team.
Sorry, I'm here.
We skipped you already. Get out of here.
Oh,
Come
okay,
back. Fine. Betty, welcome. Can you give yourself a little intro as well?
Yeah, I'm Federico. I've been core Cosmos contributor since 2017. I started working on the Peggy and then transitioning to the Looney wallet and the SDK. And for the past 2 years, been working on the core IBC team. Just getting code shipped, and yeah.
And all the good stuff. We've got Colin. You're up in Colin. We got you up in Stockholm. You're part of the EDU team. You were an intern with Tendermint a long time ago. You were also from Berkeley, blockchain at Berkeley. Been in the Cosmos Zone for a while, but employed for the last year. Would like to introduce yourself a little bit too?
Yeah, so I kind of started following Cosmos in 2018-ish, kind of building on the SDK for a while, and then working with Tendermint in summer 2019 on the SDK. And then for the past year, I've been working with IG on the core of IBC.
Oh, yeah, welcome. And Aditya, you're also a blockchain at Berkeley, right? And also an intern at Tendermint?
Yes.
Is that right? Cool.
Yeah.
Been with IG a bit longer, core Cosmos SDK and IBC module contributor. I'd like to give yourself also an intro.
Yeah, as you said, I think the entire, at least the top 3 that you've done so far are all from blockchain. So we've taken over.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was working with Colin on the SDK, and that's kind of how I got into the Cosmos ecosystem. And from there, I worked on the SDK as a contributor during my internship and the first part of my work with AIB. And then since then, I've transitioned to working on the core IBC protocol.
Nice. You've all worked underneath the fearless leadership of Chris Goes. Now it's back to you for your intro.
Well, I would describe it as a IBC. The IBC strip is like a Greek trireme. You know those. Admittedly, my knowledge of this is probably pieced together from badly recollected Wikipedia articles, so I may be fabricating a little bit to improve my metaphor. But you know those triremes where everyone is rowing, and you kind of have to row in synchrony, because if you row like in different directions, you'll just end up creating interesting vortexes but not going anywhere. So I would describe the IBC ship as a kind of trireme, and we sing like chanting songs to synchronize the rowing. In those calls, it's a little bit like composing a chanting song so that
I thought you guys were just getting into like the sea shanty music trend when I heard that music coming from the other room down the office hallway. It was actually you all singing. Is that correct?
Sea shanties, yeah. Sea shanties steering the IBC ship. So yeah, I've been, to break the trend, I have nothing whatsoever to do with blockchain at Berkeley, except that I seem to end up seeing people from it everywhere. But I was walking around downtown Eugene, Oregon, when Ethan called me and asked if I'd like to work at Tendermint. I said, well, this blockchain thing you're building sounds kind of cool, but the thing I really want to do is work on the Interchain protocol. That sounds awesome. And he said, oh yeah, it'll only take 3 months to launch this blockchain. Then we can work on the Interchain protocol. And then a year later,
we kicked off your
time. What is time? There's no time.
Yeah, we do have blockchain engineers on the line, and I think you guys probably all have very interesting perspectives on what time is.
Yeah, I remember
the IBC. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I remember when I was at Berkeley in 2017. Aditya and Colin were all probably there as well, but we were actually doing some white paper sessions. And one of them was Cosmos. I never would have imagined that I would have contributed on the core IBC protocol that I was studying with some of my friends back there. It was fun because we actually had Jay Kwan gave a talk in one of the blockchain Berkeley sessions, and he will go through the by that time beginnings of the what will be called the Cosmos SDK. So it was a really interesting experience.
Because the office was just down the street, right?
Yeah, that's why there were so many blockchain Berkeley people heavily involved with.
I actually met,
for anybody.
I was going to say, I actually met Chris for the first time in Berkeley, but I don't think he remembers.
That's not true. I remember meeting you in Berkeley.
Okay.
I remember that office really well. I wonder if the lawyer's name is still on the door. When I was
it probably is.
You can't dox it. You can't dox the office. It's hidden. It's purposefully hidden behind a facade. It's like a superhero hangout. There's a secret handshake and a bookshelf to get in.
It's a great location.
Sadly, it was
I keep trying to get out.
Sadly, it was just back to the last year, but still fun.
And I remember the precise layout of nearby restaurants and how we circulated between, especially the cheap ones for lunch.
Pro tip for anybody who's thinking about building a blockchain: set up your office next to one of the best universities, the closest one you can find, and just start poaching all of the young, bright minds there who have to be crazy enough to want to work on this for the next chapter of their life.
I mean, for a while, I'm pretty sure blockchain at Berkeley had higher occupancy rates in the office than like the people who worked at the company who worked.
That was actually true.
Yeah.
Something I asked on the last time we did this launch, the launch of the actual IBC connections and the module itself on the hub, today being, of course, the launch of token transfers, was the moment in learning about IBC, whether it was going through the spec, whether it was going through the code. I feel like I've had this moment a couple times, a sort of like aha about like actually what IBC is and how it works. I would love to hear from each of you when that moment happened for you, whether it was when you're on the team, when it was before the team, whether it was during a white paper session, whether it was just when you got your hands dirty with the code or something like that. Maybe Aditya, do you want to begin?
Sure. So I got interested in IBC once I was already a full-time worker at Tendermint. So I wanted to kind of transition into working on IBC, and I was looking through the milestone, and there were these small issues like changing the path name and that sort of thing that I could kind of help with, but it didn't really help me understand anything at all about how the overall system worked. But then, I was trying to read the paper and I could understand a little bit, but I couldn't fully wrap my head around it. But I kind of needed to get my first foothold into the code base. And that kind of happened with looking at the Tendermint Lite client and how that worked with IBC. And finally getting an understanding of how that's supposed to work and being able to make my first fix there was like that first foothold that let me understand everything else. Without
Nice.
that, I think I would have just been still lost in context.
So anybody watching here, IBC is a powerful thing, but it is complicated. Do not feel intimidated by the fact that it is intimidating. Just even the brightest minds around us, it takes a minute to understand it. Take your time, walk through it. Colin, did you have a similar experience? Was it completely different? What was it like?
So when I first joined IG, or actually a little bit before that, Aditya got on a call with me and we just kind of like worked through it, but it took like 3 hours of like back and forth. But I think by the end I had a pretty good understanding. But whenever we work through each of these problems, it's great hearing like Chris or Fede or Aditya kind of describe IBC in a different way. And then it like clicks again.
I love that. How about you, Fede?
Yeah, it actually took me a while because like on these white paper sessions that we did, and one of them was like specifically targeted towards the IBC protocol. There wasn't any like mention about like there wasn't any like the relayer was something that was like completely abstracted from the paper itself. It would like just outline like two blockchains establishing some sort of like root of trust so that they can verify transactions against each other. And so like kind of like the high level overview kind of like made sense, but like actually on how to implement and how to like create this root of trust between those two blockchains was like, I guess the kind of like a tricky part. And I didn't actually 100% understand it until like we started like working on the like application layers on top of it. In this particular case, IBC transfers, where I would like go through multiple times on like the step-by-step process of like from establishing a new Lite client to like finally being able to transfer one token to the counterparty chain. So yeah, that kind of like took a while, but there's so many edge cases as well.
Cool. And Chris, I mean, you, I think, joined and there was already sort of various sketches for what IBC could look like, but you really sort of were driving the design of the latest sort of iterative, fully capable version of IBC. I don't know if it counts as having like an aha moment when you're also the person sort of driving the ship, but was there something like that when you realized what was possible or oh my God, this might just work?
I think the gestation of what was polished into the final version of IBC can really be traced to a series of 2 days intense whiteboarding in Berlin. With at that point, they were folks from the Interchain Foundation, which later spun out to form Informal. Zarko and Ethan and Anka, and from Agoric, Dean and Mark and several other people, and from what was then Tendermint or All on Bits, June and myself, that despite being, you'd think that like 2 8-hour sessions in a sweltering conference room in Berlin during the summer would be miserable, but actually it was amazing. And we together sort of through the course of this exercise managed to construct like a mutual model or mutual, for me IBC is very topological. It's like blockchains circling each other like planets circle stars in the cosmos. I think about it spatially. But in this exercise, whiteboarding and talking, we established this kind of shared mental context around IBC, and the protocol really self-gesticulated and self-actualized as a function or as a being sustained by that hive mind at that point. So I would trace the version of IBC we've ended up with to those 2 days.
It's all from the water in Berlin. So if you're watching this, move to Berlin and apply for a job.
And Fritz Cola. I mean, we were sustained by like chilled, cheap Fritz Cola. That's right.
Cool. So that's our 15 minutes for this group. We've got a double session right now. Thank you all for joining. I'm going to wrap it up, and let's bring on the next group. I'm also going to transition. No. Back to. This is for you, Jack.
Oh goodness! Oh, Billy, you just made my day.
Just back
wonderful.
in time.
Are we live here?
This guy. I think we're live. We just did a transition, so
I think Dean is being wired up right now.
Cool. And is Anka going to be able to join us?
Anka, I sure hope she is.
We missed her on the first
bow ties
time around.
All of my bow ties are in storage right now, which is just a huge disappointment for me and for you. So I'm sorry. Let me apologize, but this is the case. Sorry.
Hello.
Dean looking fantastic as usual, as is Anka. Hello.
It's the space station behind me that does that. Yes. Hello,
Anka. Everybody. Amazing. Anka, we missed you last time when we did this on when the module went live. I'm so glad you can join us today.
Yeah, well, at the end of this session, you wouldn't think you'd miss me again.
Untrue.
Very untrue. I'll do a quick round of intros and let each of you also give a little bit of an intro yourselves. Jack, I'm sure you're no stranger to a lot of the audience. PMing many things across the ecosystem, many different ways, many different times. Most recently focusing on Sommelier and Peggy joint ventures, a lot of the Gravity Bridge stuff, Oracle module. Also still always keeping your eye on every sort of moving piece in the ecosystem. Would you like to give a brief intro as well?
Uniswap v3 as well. Sommelier is building experiences for Uniswap v3 liquidity providers. So come check us out, sommelier.finance.
Very cool, very cool. Anka from Informal Systems, you're an engineer and you're the head of the Hermes Relayer project, that's right, and IBC and Rust. Would you like to give yourself a little bit of an intro as well beyond that?
Sure, yeah. So I was originally hired by Interchain Foundation in 2019, and one of the reasons I joined was the IBC protocol. So yeah, I'm a software engineer. I have interest in distributed systems, protocol specification, design, and implementation.
Amazing. Thank you very much. And Dean, CEO of Agoric, founder of many core parts of the internet that we all know and love today, and also one of the people besides Anka who were in that fateful Berlin hot summer room. Would you like to give some more background on yourself?
Let's see, I've been doing smart contracts since 1989, large-scale distributed system stuff that flowed into some of this IBC thing. And speaking of that Berlin conference, or that Berlin gathering or powwow or whatever, that was one of those things where there was an astonishing amount of sort of richness from the Cosmos team, where at the time I thought that, IBC was like, all specified and done. And then, we described our stuff, and the merge of the two ended up just making so much sense. There was a thing at the end, or one of the sessions, where Markham, our chief scientist, Mark Miller, put up a pegging contract in JavaScript. So it's like on one slide, on one screen, the thing of, what if all of this made sense? Then this would seem like it would do pegging between two chains, and people went through it, and everyone's like, yep. And there was like one thing where it's just like, no, you should do X rather than Y. And we had enough shared context at the time that could express the relationship in IBC, or in the future of IBC, and in JavaScript. And people, from one side, if you will, could correct something, and it would sort of totally make sense in the concepts of interchain pegging and stuff. So that was a really great launch to the design of the final design of IBC.
Yeah, Dean, I think before we had started the working group and started working together to develop the spec, I seem to remember a conversation with you where you were like, so can you just like show me what the work you guys have on IBC is? And like, is it going to be about a month before that's ready?
No, someone there said it'd be a month for a spec. And then it was a year later, and it took 6 months to review. And
my favorite IBC moment was when I started the spec call. I think, we had a conversation. We'd like launched the hub, and someone was like, okay, well, I guess it's time to start working on IBC. And I was like, great, we'll go get started working on IBC. And I was like, I guess we start a meeting and a spec call. I was like, how do you write a spec? And I went and I looked up, and I was like, well, JavaScript uses this thing called TC39, and there's a few other folks who use this process. And I was like, okay, I'll just write TC39. I'll take out JavaScript, and I'll say IBC in there. And it's an open source process. I might as well use it. In the first meeting we have, Dean and Mark from Agoric show up, and Mark goes, well, do you guys want to know about using TC39? Because I've been on the JavaScript steering committee for 10 years. And I was completely blown away and horribly intimidated, but a wonderful start to the IBC process.
Yep. What's funny is, Anka, I know we met in Berlin, right? And I remember meeting you, but back to the standards and specification process, we had so much conversation around when we were finally doing a review. And so my biggest memory of you was your review comments, because they were just, there was just like, wow, deep understanding here.
Yeah, speaking about what month, is it going to be ready in a month? It took us a month just to review what we thought is a final version of the IBC spec. Just to review that, we did line by line review with many people, and oh my God, that was so tedious.
I often hear your name come up, Anka, as like the saving grace for like, oh my God, thank God that Anka notified us of like this thing, which we got totally wrong. And it makes me want to ask
exaggerating, but thanks.
Well, it makes me want to ask the question that I asked the last round, which is like, when was the moment that sort of IBC clicked for you? I mean, if it took a month to go through the spec, for you personally, Anka, what was the sort of like, aha, this is what it is, and like, or this is what's different about it, or this is what's important about it? Did you get it on day one? Was it during that Berlin session at another time?
No, there were many aha moments when, I started as if dropped on a dark road and there are no lights and very few once in a while, that's it. And you think you understand, and then a day later you realize you don't understand anything. And you move on, and it's better, but I still think there are things I have to understand better, to be honest. I mean, it's the nature of the beast, right? You think always you got it, but yeah, there's something. Even recently, right? All kind of issues popping up that makes you think, oh, how come we never thought about this?
Oh my gosh. All right, keep acting as our guardian angel, thinking about these things, so the rest of us can just play with Keplr. Yeah, Jack, was that a moment for you? Or go ahead.
I would love to hear a little bit more about Anka and the informal team's work on the TLA Plus specs, because, for me, that's been one of the most exciting pieces of the IBC specification process, is the fact that we've gone ahead and done the really hard, very time-consuming and difficult work to get it formally verified and to work through these formal specification methods. I just think it's some of the most exciting work that this team has done.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much said it condensed. We did complete the formal verification for all the subprotocols in IBC. We used TLA plus specification to do that, and verification with TLC and Appalachia. Then the other thing that's missing and is not fully there is, you know, you have the formal specification, you can verify it, but then you have a piece of code that implements that. How do you bridge the two? So we started working on what we call model-based testing, where we generate tests based on the formal specification. So it's not 100% done, but we're getting there.
So I just want to also sort of express my excitement about that, because that's one of those things where you say it so casually as if there is any other network protocol that has this.
Or even close.
You know, and yeah, Amazon put in a crap ton of effort and got their Paxos implementation verified this way. But the level of assurance, you know, going back to there's pieces I don't understand, but I know that they prove formal properties of them correct with respect to a bunch of the assumptions we had. So, wow, my assurance of correctness there is huge. And our ability to evolve the standard going forward is vastly improved by the fact that we will have these TLA proofs that have to remain true as we screw things up. So this is just, I mean, the level of assurance of interoperability because of that work is something that I think, you know, 10 years from now, people will look back and be excited about what a sea change that was in the ability to do communication. So I think that's just awesome stuff.
I mean, Dean, like previously, it's only been large organizations like Amazon verifying extremely mission critical billion
this
dollars.
Is extremely mission critical.
Well, it is.
You know, the ecosystem is a large organization or a large disorganization.
You know, but it's sort of like a raft of different organizations that have all contributed to build this thing, and we've been able to add these like extremely high levels of engineering excellence. It's one of the things that makes me just excited to get up and come to work every day. Like, I love it. It's fantastic.
You know, I mean, and obviously the seed that it came from, you know, and Chris was on the previous session driving that spec to something that we could review, you know, driving it through, just edit, you know, responding to review feedback instantly to accumulate things, you know, addressing concerns such that it would turn into something that could be formally verified. I've seen plenty of projects that went to formally verify something and they struggled with it. And the reason they struggled with it is because they were in fact incorrect. You know, they could not formally verify the property they wanted because they did not have the property they wanted, right? And so getting to the end of actually having some properties that verified, that's just huge. So yeah, I'm very excited. In case you couldn't tell.
I mean, as somebody who's trying to be the dumbest person in the room all the time, I often sort of feel confused about the idea of formal verification. Also, somebody who just hasn't gotten their hands dirty with it. But would you say that it's correct to sort of, one way to think about formal verification is computers are notorious for doing what you say, but not what you mean. So you can often write tests that sort of confirm that a computer is doing what you say. However, formal verification allows you to test that a computer is doing what you mean. Is that correct?
So, yes, almost. Well, let me add my 2 cents and then Anka can correct it. How's this? Which is, the problem is you then also have to have a specification that says what you meant, and then you can verify something did that. And you can verify consistency within the specification and various things like that. A lot of formal verification that happens is not interesting to me because, great, you formally verified that thing I can't understand is equivalent to that thing that I can't understand, and so it didn't do me much good. Right. The IBC spec is, you know, and partly because it's a clear network spec, so it's relative. It's not like a programming language or an implementation or whatever, right? So it is small enough that it can be clear enough that it actually expresses pretty much what we mean. And we still occasionally find gaps in what we mean, but knowing that that we achieved what we meant, you know, what we wrote down in the spec is meaningful in this case because we understand the spec.
Okay. Anything to add there? We've got another minute to wrap up. Some closing thoughts on that thought?
Yeah, I mean, it is like Dean said, it's not always clear cut. It happens that you write a specification and you try to verify it, it fails, and you thought, oh, I found a bug in the spec. But then when you look closer, sometimes it happens that it turns out that you misunderstood the spec, or maybe the spec is not clear enough. So it's always good feedback, though, regardless of where you find issues, right? You can find issues in the English spec, you can find issues in the actual protocol, eventually in the code once we have this bridging with the model-based testing done.
Cool, super cool. I understand that the relayer is also formally verified, and we're going to get a demo of that on our next session.
That's exciting. Before we run, one of the things that I want to say, and you guys should stick around and watch Anka's relayer because Hermes is sick. But I'm just excited that Cosmos devs can now test in prod the same way that ETH devs have. Like watching, I'm serious, watching that Starport demo, it's like, it's going to unlock a whole new level of chaos and a whole new level of crazy shit going on. That presentation has me thinking about how to connect to the Bee Harvest swap demo testnet and like do some live swaps on there with real assets before they go live.
Oh my God.
Like that's going to happen, and I want to do it.
Amazing. Thank you very much for that awful advice to proceed with abandon.
This is not financial advice.
I am not a lawyer.
Software engineering practice.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, you guys. Congratulations.
Thanks all.
Congratulations. Bye.
Just be a weird infant. I know. I'm gone.
That's the one.
What do you guys think? Oh my God, we're live. Sorry, guys. I thought I was still in the dressing room. Thanks for joining. This is the Gaia and IBC use cases session. So I didn't get to ask you before the session, but I wanted to check now. Should we do the demo first, and then we can talk about sort of what that means and all the use cases, et cetera, afterwards?
Let's go.
Demo first, yeah.
I'm seeing some nods. Cool. Andy, are you ready for that, or should we do? Actually, let's do some intros first. Cool. So we've got to my left here, Sam Hart in Berlin at the Interchain Foundation and Interchain GmbH. Just to get a little background on yourself. Say hello.
Yeah, I'm literally across the hallway from Billy right now. I work.
No, I'm in space. That's not where
he's just launched off for a little bit further away now. Yeah, work with Billy at the Interchain Foundation. I kind of keep the ecosystem together, make sure that all the core teams are funded and their work is kind of scoped and that there's communication between all the teams. Also run the funding program, investments, just make sure that capital is kind of going to the right places and things are getting built. That's me.
Amazing. And Fede, we already got an intro from you. Is there anything that we forgot before? You want to tell anybody who wasn't there on the last sessions?
Not really.
All right,
oh yeah.
Sit back down.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No, what do you got?
No, like I've been involved as well, like in Etherman for the past year, and been working also like on Gravity as well, and also on Somalia most recently.
Cool. Shahan, one of the newer members of IG, calling in from Toronto, the Gaia team lead. Welcome. Would you like to give a little intro to yourself as well?
Yeah, sure. I joined Cosmos at the end of November. I was in the Ethereum ecosystem prior to that, and as Gaia team lead, I'm responsible for coordinating the teams that are writing code and trying to launch stuff on the hub. So preparing operational processes, checklists for devs and product owners to help them with their process, and also coordinating amongst teams towards roadmap agreement. And that's pretty much me in a nutshell.
Amazing. Yeah, I like to think of you like the adult in the room in the Gaia code base, where there's all these people who are kicking and screaming for their features and all their fun stuff.
That's right. Yeah, there's that. But everything. The ecosystem is so well coordinated and very smooth. There's not that much kicking and screaming. People are truly on board with processes.
I wish that was 100% true. I appreciate the perspective. And Andy, welcome from Informal Systems, previously of the Interchain Foundation, the grants program, and also developer relations on things like Hermes and other projects. I understand you're going to give a demo on Hermes today. Would you like to tell us a bit about that and a bit about yourself?
Yep, sure. I can start with that. I have a couple of slides and few slides, and I like to demo showing slides and then demo the terminal, how it works, just to give some context. So you guys can go ahead?
Yeah, let's do it. Let her rip.
All right, so I'm gonna share my screen. Just 1 second.
While you're sharing, Andy's the head of DevRel at Informal. Just context there, since you didn't get to the intro.
Okay. Let me try to share. I'm getting a message here. Let's see. I don't know if it's this says too many video sources. Is it?
Do I need to drop down, Shin? I can do
maybe
that.
one drop down video. Yeah, let me try
Sam seppuku'd first. Or are we all seppuku'ing?
Let me try again.
I'm staying on. Last man standing.
Let me try. I might have to refresh my page because it's still showing. Let me try here.
Shahan's gone too. Everyone's making plenty of room for you.
Let's see.
Well, you have to drop the cat.
I'm going to leave, but the cat's going to stay.
Okay, if I drop, I'll try just 1 second.
Andy is going to reconnect. Can we get some votes going in the chat what my next avatar should be?
I'm back.
Like a mushroom.
And then I'm
cheesy puff.
I'm still getting a limit of I don't know why. Let me try here. I'm gonna close.
Getting some requests to pet the cat.
Let me try.
While we deal with some technical difficulties on not the relayer, but technical difficulties on the video systems.
Yeah.
I'd also be happy to be a pickle for anybody who's looking for some distractions during these technical difficulties. Or a tomato, or a tomato. I'm going to be here all week, you all. Please send tips to me on the Photon show.
Is there
any luck?
Let's see here.
Should we fall back into doing the final section first? Or do you want to talk about the relayer a little bit if we can't do the demo? Oh, he's gone.
Yeah, I can talk about it, but it would be nice to be able to.
Well, okay. Andy, why don't you keep playing in the background, and we'll talk about some IBC applications while
let's do the IBC use
some
cases.
All right.
Cool. Let's welcome. Does everybody have audio, just no video right now? Who was in the room before?
I'm here.
I heard you, Sam, without seeing you. Were you here the whole time?
Yeah, we're here.
Amazing. Cool. So IBC use cases. Sam, would you like to begin with, as a mortal human being who has not directly built the code but is ready to be a first user of IBC, or at least support the first uses, support the projects, you're at the ICF, you're helping direct the money, letting the spice flow. Where do you want the spice to flow with IBC?
So I think by far the hottest feature that is in the most demand right now is NFTs over IBC. And this is something that is in the works. We have the ICS20, our version of the fungible token, which is going to be, you can use right now. But there's a kind of boom of NFTs in the Ethereum world, and we want to be able to issue NFTs in the Cosmos ecosystem, as well as bring NFTs over from Ethereum. So I know Fede is working on that latter part, and yeah, we're trying to get this feature shipped as soon as possible. So that's one. Closely related, we're working on DIDs, which is a metadata format that can be super flexible and can be used for account addressing, as well as really like any kind of document addressing. And it kind of plays well with NFTs. So that's in progress at the moment as well. Something that Billy's been working quite a bit on is interchain accounts. And the way that I kind of describe this to others is that it's SSH for blockchains. So you can proxy your account to another blockchain and submit transactions and act as if you were the account on another blockchain. And then we have interchain staking, which is an IBC level protocol. Unlike some other kind of sharded designs, we actually implemented or are implementing a shared security model as an application level protocol. And this is a long-term project.
Okay. I said your favorite things. You just did like a list of all of the features coming out in 2021. They're all great, but they can't all be your favorite, Sam.
I think you need to like
Shahan.
So for the next year.
Shahan, can you add a little bit of flavor to those perspectives? What of those are most exciting for you personally, rather than the things that are just happening and you're excited for in general? I understand you've got a background, especially enterprise Ethereum and applications. Is there anything related to that? Your other special interests that are close to your heart, IBC use cases?
Yeah, I have worked a lot in enterprise blockchain applications and the stack. I'm really excited for the IBC component. I'll speak from the technical side rather than the products that are coming down the pike. This activation, what I'm really excited about for this activation is that it enables module developers to use IBC as part of Gaia. So this activation is essentially enabling IBC in Gaia, as well as the chains that are supporting them. And by allowing this library to be activated, then module developers can rely on the IBC component that is part of Gaia. They don't have to worry about IBC necessarily, specifically about the technical capabilities inside their module. They can rely on the IBC module as part of Gaia. And this allows for coherent communication between blockchains as these modules work together. There becomes a standard. And by developing the operational pieces of the hub with IBC, the checklist components for these for the readiness of these modules also gets figured out. So that's my take on it. Of course, aside from the technical things, the NFT piece is super exciting to me. I really enjoy this mix of creativity and technology, and especially bringing in the decentralized aspect of that is just phenomenal, in my opinion.
Yeah, keep an eye out for internft.org, the work being shepherded from IXO, Sean Conway, Persistence One. All of this is tying into prior efforts from, even Fede and I built the first Cosmos SDK module. That was a basis for the IrisNet. They've got an app live on the IrisNet called Uptick. Crypto.com just announced that they're going to be supporting the CosmWasm-based CW 721 standard to have a marketplace for 721s. This makes me wonder also what you just mentioned, Shahan, that maybe Fede, you're the best person to talk about this briefly, the sort of difference between IBC core and IBC application layer standards. So the first application layer standard, of course, is token transfer. But what does it mean if I want to build my own application layer standard that I can utilize IBC core, and like how much work does that save me in sort of like building cool features on top of IBC?
Yeah, so there's an interesting separation of concerns between on the IBC protocol itself, because it clearly separates what's on the IBC core components and the IBC application level modules, which is what an application developer will be building on top of their specific chain. So out of the box, the things that you need to do is just like import the IBC module, which will bring in all the core components, namely IBC clients, connections, channels, and packet structures, which define the handshakes that you need to provide in order to like establish the connections, and the sort of like connections between the specific modules on two different counterparty chains. And on top of that are the packets, which contain data, which is pretty much what you need to implement on your application. These data need to be like shared in a common knowledge between like two different modules. So, for example, in IBC transfer, where you're basically defining as the data for this packet is the different fields for the sender, the recipient, and the amount of tokens that you're transferring. And this is kind of like what would be like encoded on these like data on this byte array, sorry. But because IBC clearly separates the core components from the app, you can build whatever you want and encode it as this byte array. So in the case that you were mentioning, Billy, and Shahan as well, of the NFTs, you would provide the fields that outline a transfer of a specific NFT from one chain to another.
And can you briefly talk within the topic that is on our agenda, what's the use case of IBC that you're most excited about with this sort of flexibility in mind?
Yeah, so there are like a few use cases that I'm the most excited about, namely, I think smart contract interoperability is going to be huge. For example, having two different EVM chains on Cosmos, or like, or not even two EVM chains, but for example, Cosmos, Wasm, and Ethermint, having to talk to each other through like IBC, not only for the purpose of transferring ERC20 tokens or any token representation within those smart contracts, but also having some sort of like cross-chain smart contract calls where you can execute state transition on the other smart contract on the counterparty chain. And I think that will be like huge in terms of interoperability and liquidity provisioning in general, and will be like huge as well for yield farming on DeFi.
Yeah, it makes me think about sort of the Ethereum user story right now. You know what I mean? Ethereum is just congested with tons of gas, and you're starting to see people really understand why it's useful to move over to these L2s that exist, XDAI and Matic, and soon to be Optimism. But what becomes possible if you don't need to like hire a company to run those bridges, or trust some group of people to run those bridges, or a very small group of people to run those bridges, but like if each of these EVM blockchains can just sort of be spun up and have automatically bridges between them that can have arbitrary messages passed between and smart contract execution. I mean, it's basically what the sort of product proposal of Polygon Matic network is saying. Like they want to be a network of just EVM chains, and they're now building with the Cosmos SDK, aren't they? So they're sort of like an EVM pocket within the larger internet of blockchains.
Yeah, and the cool thing about like having to use IBC for not only for connecting different Cosmos chains, but also like BFT chains and EVM chains that might like implement Tendermint. So for example, Tendermint runs on top of, Matic and Polygon run on top of Tendermint. So you could technically have like an IBC connection between those two EVM chains and have them talk IBC between the smart contracts in Polygon and, for example, on Ethermint. That's one potential use case that I see between those two different parties, Ethermint and Polygon. And yeah, like and lastly, the next use case that I'm the most excited about as well is the use case for solo machines, which I'm not sure we've talked about, but like solo machine clients, in the context of IBC, a solo machine is just whatever process that is not a blockchain that wants to talk about, wants to communicate with a specific chain on through IBC. So a solo machine can be like whatever. It can be like a process that is just like a script. Could be like a centralized like bank, for example, that wants to mint tokens. Once you like transfer US dollars to the corresponding address. It can be an IoT device or any other process that wants to communicate with a given chain using IBC. And this is huge in terms of innovation in the space, because now you have like a secure way to communicate, like sort of like Oracle provisioning for processes on having them to communicate with chains.
Absolutely. So we've got about 10 minutes left. I think, Sam, you dropped your video earlier, but you never actually dropped out of the chat. So I think that it was always still too many people for Andy to be able to share his camera.
Yeah, why don't I try that so that Andy can give this a shot?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like, Fede, you turned off your video right now too, but you're also still in the chat.
Yeah, I'm still having some problems. I'm trying to share again as like I don't know if I should refresh the browser, but if I refresh, I might just drop too. I can try to drop my video.
So maybe Shahan, you could also try. I see Fede dropped his video, but I'm not sure if he can hear me, that he's actually still part of the room. So we want to have, oh, now Sam is gone. Okay, Andy, you want to try now?
Yeah, okay.
You need to jump off as well.
Yeah, let me try. See if you can see my video. Looks like it went through. Can you see this PowerPoint?
Nope.
No, maybe enable your video because you're in the corner for me.
Oh. Nothing shows up?
No. You're in the corner for me, so I don't see you showing any video, neither your shared screen or your face.
Nothing?
No. Just, I guess, mouse over your face and then enable the video.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Yeah, I see your face.
Okay, then let me share the screen. Anything?
Not yet. How about I drop with perhaps that?
Fede, do you want to drop as well? I see you're still in here.
Okay, I'm dropping.
Cool, Fede's gone. One more time, Andy.
Okay. Let me see.
Yeah, you could also try sending it to me and I could present in the 6 minutes we've got left. Is that something that's possible? Throw it in the Telegram chat maybe?
Let me try here.
Or is it a live demo?
There's a live component, right? So yeah, I'm not sure what's happening, but maybe in the few minutes, and maybe we're not gonna have too many time. What I can do, again, I'll record a video showing the whole demo and things. But basically, what I was gonna show is the Hermes relayer. So as you people mentioned, the relayer is the component, the process that integrates both blockchains. So in my demo, what I had a local chain, like a Gaia-based local chain, IBC0, and that I will going to transfer some tokens to Cosmos Hub 4 using the Hermes relayer. So Hermes is one of the, let's say, two relayers. There's the Golang relayer, and there's also Hermes that Informal System developed. It's built in a programming language called Rust, which is known to be very safe and performant. with Hermes, you could set up your own relaying chain. Like you could transfer tokens from one place to the other. So in the demo, I was going to explain, and probably going to make a nice YouTube video so we can go on the channel. I have nice diagrams just to put in context, but basically through the demo, I want to explain like the whole, let's say, IBC building blocks by connecting the chains, which are the clients, connections, channels, and ports, which is important because a lot of times we see the demos and we only see the magic, right? Like, oh, this token was transferred from this place to the other place, but how that really happened, right? If you think like blockchains, they can't communicate with, like, in theory, directly with each other. So I'm going to explain what's this magic that goes in the middle, and I'll put like some nice diagrams and do the commands. And then I'll post that video, and then we can share on the channel, like the Cosmos Network. It's probably better to do this way, because then I not have to rush too many, like I can explain things in a nice way. So probably just keep an eye for that, and probably it's going to be shared through the Cosmos Network.
Yeah, do you want to speak for a second about what's cool about it being in Rust? The idea that it sort of can compile down into WASM, that potentially this could be something that runs in the browser, runs in a lot of environments, things like the benefits you get out of that?
Yeah, the interesting thing about Rust is that not the language itself, but it opens all sorts of possibilities. And as most people know, like the Cosmos SDK and a lot of things are built in Golang, but we've been working, so actually, at Informal, we've been working on two like big projects, which is Tendermint-RS and IBC-RS. So a lot of the things that were built in Tendermint-RS, which has like a light client, for example, that we leverage in our Hermes relayer. That's another concept that I'm going to explain in my video. What is a light client, right? Why do we need a light client? So the idea is that being in Rust, a lot of blockchains, other blockchains, for example, Substrate, we could eventually have IBC modules, and we've been working with a company to do like an IBC Substrate, and then the possibilities are endless, right? So it just opens up a lot more once we have another programming language that people could integrate with, right? So we're not just like, in the future, IBC is a protocol. It's not like Cosmos specific. Anybody could, like any blockchain that is interested in plugging to the Cosmos, they could just take, if the technology is in there, they just could take it, implement IBC on their side, and things could connect, right? So that's the beauty of it. It's independent, like for sovereign chains. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think this idea of IBC is not Cosmos is also what is sort of exciting about what Cosmos is that it actually includes everything outside of the Cosmos SDK, outside of the Cosmos Hub. Just depends on like what branding language you want to use around it, whether you want to call it the Interchain, the Internet of Blockchains, the Internet, like just the world, just all networks, all blockchains. Like this is what we mean when we talk about IBC, right? It's really much more than just Cosmos or the Hub. And way more targets than just Golang. Way more targets than even just Rust.
So
if you
can build on top of that too, right? Like it's just like if someone already has a lot of stack in Rust, for example, they can just go and within this IBC-RS repository in GitHub, we have the IBC modules, we have a relayer package, and then the relayer CLI, which is actually Hermes, right? So Hermes is built on top of the kind of like a relayer package and an IBC module package. But people could, if they want to implement their own relayer, they could, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, well, that's what we have all the time for this session. Thank you very much for joining. I'm sorry we couldn't get your demo running. We'll look out for that on YouTube.
Yeah, for sure.
Hello, and thank you for sticking around through all of the sessions for our second launch party within the last month. We've got a great crew here. This is the IBC gang. Obviously, this is not Do we have some crazy audio going on? We're good. Cool. So what is IBC Gang? IBC Gang is representatives from different networks that will be supporting IBC either right now or in the very near future, whether that means the module enabled or token transfers enabled. We've already seen Dean on stage earlier from Agoric. Anything else you'd like to give as a background, Dean, on this new context of IBC Gang?
Just repeat the question, you echoed.
Anything else you'd like to bring in as a part of an intro within the context of IBC Gang that wasn't part of your intro on a previous session?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the main thing, and we're getting the echo still, I think might be you, Billy.
Really?
So the main thing is that the IBC lets us launch not in a vacuum, lets us launch connected to the rest of the world's assets. And that's just something that before, today was not an option for people. So I think that's going to really change the game of rolling out new chains in the future.
Cool. While we go around, let's try muting everybody's mic one at a time, because somebody's got like 2 browser sessions open or something like that. I think might be what's going on. But maybe we first jump to Gregory from Region Network. You have a great title. What is it, like Chief Renewable Officer or something like that? What is the term again?
Chief Regeneration Officer. Yeah.
Yes.
And So IBC, we're excited. We'll be launching with IBC module on chain when we go live. We're I think I can safely announce the fresh news. We actually just decided to shift our mainnet launch date to the 15th of April. So it's coming right up around the corner. The community, we're going to host a big party and whatnot, and we wanted to be able to be sure of the launch date, and we were like 90% sure of the previous date, but we feel 99% sure of this one. So IBC is really important to our use case in a number of different ways. One is in the broader scheme of things, the Internet of Blockchains really is one of the, I think, core technology foundations to a global carbon accounting system and a lot of the other challenges that we're working to address at Regen Network, where you really do need to have different registries, different systems of accounting, be able to talk to each other and exchange information and sort of track statefulness. So it's important in the mid to long term for what's happening in our world. And in the short term, we're really excited about IBC and launching a mainnet into the IBC world, because it's really core to our plan for liquidity and for interacting with the rest of the Cosmos ecosystem. So we have a completely decentralized exchange approach to making our native staking token available to people publicly, and that really wouldn't be feasible with everything else we're doing. We would spend so much engineering effort to make that possible without IBC that we wouldn't be able to. So IBC is really a cornerstone for our sort of just coming out in the world and making it possible for people to participate in our governance. And it's exciting.
Yeah, thanks for that intro, Gregory. And welcome, Jeffrey, from Iris Network, the very first Cosmos SDK chain to launch before the Cosmos Hub itself. Second chain to launch with IBC. You guys are enabling token transfers, I guess, somewhere around the corner. Welcome. Would you like to give a little bit of an intro as well?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Billy. Yeah, I think, really, IBCnet is, I think maybe the first Cosmos SDK chain launched this mainnet back into the 2019. So, yeah, after 2 years of our development works, IBC is finally coming. Right, so we have already seen the demo from the Dodgers to show how this IBC transfer can be happened between the networks. Really exciting to be happening between the testnet and the Cosmos Hub. So yeah, actually, after 2 days, the X Hub will also enable the IBC transfer. So we will see some IBC transfer between the X Hub and the Cosmos Hub between these two mainnet. I think that's another amazing thing. The whole community will see that totally permissionless and totally you can transfer anything you want between the networks. I think this is really another amazing thing. So, and we'll do several applications around this IBC stuffs, like the coin swap and other maybe connecting other networks. I believe so. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Iris connected, and I want to dive into some of the sort of things that become possible once IBC's connected with Iris as well. But I'd also like to introduce Adam from Akash. Adam, you're calling it a crazy time zone, aren't you? I guess you and Jeffrey both are.
It's a little after 5 a.m. for me, so you'll have to excuse. I'll say more stupid things now than I usually do, which is already probably a lot. So now I'm really happy to be here. Really excited about IBC coming. We're going to be enabling it pretty soon. We have an upgrade coming, and shortly after that, we should be enabling transfers on IBC. The uses we're going to get out of it is like we're focusing on decentralized exchange for compute. Like that's the thing we do. And people often ask us, do you do storage? Do you do domain names? Do you do smart contracts? Like, no, we do the thing that we do. And so IBC is really going to enable us to like use all the other projects in the Cosmos space, like leverage people doing what they know how to do best with our project, and I'm really excited about the network effects it'll have, and it'll really open up a lot of new features for us.
Absolutely. So we talked for a minute that there's going to be carbon credits available for the region network. Iris is a hub that's similar to the Cosmos hub for routing, but it also has specific features like automatic market maker and NFTs. And Akash is doing decentralized compute that's now sort of available to be using these different aspects. Dean, we didn't really talk too much about like day one, what's going to be possible. I mean, when you have a virtual machine and a smart contracting platform, the short answer is you can do whatever you want. But there's also some sort of core features of Agoric that will become possible on day one. Can you talk about something like that?
I'll say we'll glue them all together. But okay, we will do a gentle rollout. But it is not just a VM chain where you can do smart contracts, but a full-on economy, so that there are core features of market services like stablecoin machine, treasury, to have a local currency. So bring your assets over to IBC, use them as collateral, get a loan in the local currency, or exchange them in the marketplace to get the local currency, spend that on the local AMM to buy resources, spend that on the local AMM or on the local markets to buy resources that are pegged assets from Akash or from IrisNet or from Regen, and be able to have markets or build new markets or new, lease abstractions or subscription arrangements or that kind of thing in JavaScript. Now, the ability to build new contracts, that will be not in initial mainnet in early summer. That will be later on down the road as we get enough battle testing and security reviews and all those kinds of things to get to the point of complete permissionless arbitrary execution of code. But in the out the gate, we will have the initial economy with treasury and AMM and a few other such market services where traders can come do investments, build or participate in exchange, and ramp up to where governance then switches on more and more services and more access.
So something like MakerDAO or Kava, I'll be able to take atoms over to Agoric, lock them up, and get a stable token that I can use to buy more atoms because I'm so bullish on atoms.
We will help you go long, baby.
Region Network, I'm excited to see. I mean, there's a huge conversation around the proof of work world about the environmental impact of just burning electricity to secure networks. You've seen a lot of carbon credit buying, to sort of offset some of that impact. Proof of stake is obviously 99.99 or whatever percent sort of more efficient when it comes to sort of the electricity use. We are all still using, various versions of cloud computing, which does have a sort of significant impact on the environment as well. So one of the sort of features that I'm really excited about seeing is basically governance modules, the collective funds of different blockchains purchasing their carbon credits, to offset the entire network themselves from Regen. Is that something that's going to be sort of rolled out incrementally, or is that like day one token transfers? That's the first use case. What does that look like?
I think it's going to be pretty close to day one token transfer use case. Yeah, and we're really excited to be. This is one of the most amazing things about IBC and just the larger proof of stake world in the Cosmos ecosystem is we can all, through governance, essentially offset our environmental impact. And that's one of the big things that Regen is super excited to be. So we're already in conversation with a couple of different, at the protocol level. We've also been having some great conversations with validators. So we've done a bunch of work on quantifying exactly what the greenhouse gas or carbon footprint is of proof of stake networks. And yeah, as you said, it's way less than proof of work. I mean, it's sort of mind-boggling the efficiency you gain when you virtualize the mining and turn it into a token, and run governance through the token instead. So really excited about supporting the community. I'm also excited. I think IBC is really kind of what's going to make it possible for the DeFi world to lead climate finance. And climate finance is going to be on the order of magnitude. It's going to be a bigger industry than oil and gas. It's going to be, several trillions of dollars per annum is starting to go into, what we could broadly refer to as climate finance. And again, all of that sort of public goods accounting, it works much better within a native blockchain ecosystem. It works much better when you have something like IBC to allow different blockchains to interoperate and account for each other. So I actually think we're going to see this sort of dark horse use case of decentralized finance technology and infrastructure we're all building to actually lead the way in climate finance. And I don't think a lot of people see that coming, but it's going to be a big deal. And the Cosmos ecosystem is right at the heart of it.
Very cool. Very cool. And Jeffrey, sort of day one with these features of the hub that, like the AMM and the NFT, the hub, sorry, of course, in this case being the Iris hub, that means that day one I could move atoms over and swap them for Iris token on that AMM, go over to the Uptick application and start buying and selling NFTs that are there that are denominated in Iris. Are there other things that we'll be able to do sort of day one? Will those NFTs be able to be purchased in other denominations? Would I want to use Atom there directly? Would I want to always go to that AMM? What do you think the sort of like first sort of activity is going to be? Do you think there's going to be a swelling of liquidity inside the AMM? What do you sort of foresee?
Oh yeah, actually we can do several things maybe in the step-by-step. Yeah, the first one is swap the atom and other things on the AMM of the AirSnet and buy something. Yeah, I also made an NFT of the Dogmas Twitter just several hours ago. Yeah, just it's the first IBC transfer that Twitter made on the NFT of that. So yeah, maybe but unfortunately I have already transferred to Dogmas. Yeah, if we can mint more NFTs, we can buy it by the atom on the Earth Hub, and yeah, just keep it and I'll trade it for it. Yeah, and after that, I think we can also several things we can do with this kind of the IBC stuffs. Like we got the iService. We can maybe register several things like the legacy system and other things as an iService. So the Atom can also maybe use in this kind of services maybe in the future. We can leverage this kind of things, and also that also we can use this the IBC over the iService over the IBC to see more potential use of the cross-chain service market. There's another things, and we are also building several peg or bridges by the IBC, like the Ethereum peg. We can maybe also further extend the Atom's usage by this kind of stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, can you tell us more a bit about that bridge? Did you say that was the bridge to Binance, or was that a different bridge?
Oh yeah, Binance is also, we are talking with them to see whether we can use the IBC with the Binance chain. That it's another bridge we are planning to do this kind of things.
Which is a pretty cool sort of like backdoor.
Sorry?
I was going to say it's a pretty cool sort of like backdoor to getting all of these other assets, which are on Binance chain over into the Cosmos ecosystem as well. We'll have the Gravity bridge to Ethereum, but I'm sure there's a lot of ERC20s that are represented on the Binance chain right now that will have a path, to the Cosmos Hub and the wider Cosmos ecosystem of IBC with Ural's chain to Binance until they support IBC natively.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Super cool. And Adam, so decentralized compute, the sort of day one, I imagine the sort of first lowest hanging fruit is being able to pay for different services or fees and different tokens that have value across the ecosystem. Do you imagine daisy chaining functions as being the primary? Do you imagine just sort of like better access to the services that Akash is offering? Do you imagine like connecting with Region in some way that, oh, I've just rented this cloud compute from you all, and I, as part of that transaction, want to pay for the offset of it?
Yeah, I mean, all those things are on the table. I think initially it's going to be about, just liquidity and the workflows, so people can pay, get access to the Akash network a lot easier. They don't have to go through centralized exchanges and things like that. That's absolutely going to be the first thing we do very early on. Then after that, yeah, it's wide open. So there's things we could do with like securitizing some of these leases on Agoric with some smart chains. We can start to look at how to create long-term leases. That's going to be a really exciting area for us. And in terms of the carbon credits and things like that, like that's something I'd really like to see. Especially, I feel like there's a really good use case for it. Like if we can get some more of these proof of work chains onto Cosmos, it really it's great for us. Not just altruistically, but it opens up all of these GPUs that have been used for, finding the right hash for these chains can now be used for good things. And so there's a couple wins there. One, of course, they could get their carbon tax credits. It's good for the planet, but maybe those things can be put to work to do something better, like folding genes and things like that. And the Akash network can all that stuff can go through the Akash network, so we can handle machine learning workloads and things like that. So I think there's a really interesting story there for us and for the IBC network in general.
Or doing the other most popular thing with GPUs in the blockchain space, which is rendering 3D images for NFTs.
Yep. Yeah, that or using AI to make it such that it looks like I can lip sync or something like that.
Did you pay for that moon on a blockchain?
Exactly. So this panel is called IBC Gang. You guys are all obviously sort of set up to be the earliest members of the official IBC Gang enabled networks with IBC. I'd love to hear from each of you. Who do you want to see most with IBC enabled as soon as possible? Whether it's a legacy proof of work network like Ethereum or Bitcoin, whether it's some of the other sort of layer 2s or layer 1s that are out there, or Cosmos SDK chains, like maybe personally and on behalf of maybe your company. What gets you sort of excited in terms of timelines? Like, oh, I can't wait till that's possible. Dean, do you want to start?
Sure. So the thing that's most exciting to me personally is where IBC gives us access to technology that we don't have to implement, that I can use that service over there. And some of those are a little boring, like, proof of location. Okay, that's actually really cool technology and really damn hard, but it's like, okay, you got to then wire it into some interesting use cases. But man, once you have it, this concert ticket only works, or it can only be traded, more than a mile from the venue or something like that. I mean, it ties into NFTs, it ties into a bunch of things that are all interesting, and I'm never going to be able to build into the Agoric chain. The zero knowledge stuff is awesome, right? The Nino or ZK rollups or that kind of thing brought in as a service that's accessible to Agoric and other chains on the Interchain, right? Being able to leverage that tech without having to be a zero knowledge expert would be really great. And so that's what I like, sort of that I'm most interested, sort of personally. From a business point of view, man, gravity. I mean, just no question, right? The bridge to Ethereum. It's why did Willie Sutton rob banks? Because that's where the money is, right? We want to connect. We want to be DeFi connected to the rest of the world, right? DeFi by itself is a lonely thing. DeFi is all about being in an economy, and and while it's still early days for DeFi, there's a good chunk of it happening over on ETH. You might have heard of that, right? And so we want to connect to that. Given what we saw in January of all these projects setting up zones that are DeFi related that have some connection, we want to be able to connect to all of those. And that's, bring assets to here, be able to play with them, create assets easily in JavaScript, hand them out to other networks, and that's just going to be really exciting. So that's what I want.
Super cool. Gregory, what about you personally and professionally? What are you most excited to have join the IBC gang?
I mean, I'll echo what Dean just said and just shout out to Foam. It's going to be pretty awesome when we're able, proof of location as a part of the verification layer for us doing ecosystem service credits and contracts is just huge. And so that's going to be pretty exciting as a layer to be able to interact with. Pretty stoked on that. Definitely Gravity. The Gravity bridge over to Ethereum, or I mean, hey, ETH2, just go straight for IBC. I mean, come on, folks, that'd be pretty great. I'm also I'm really excited about some of the work happening with different, and I don't know exactly how this is going to go down, but innovation that's taking place in governance, where I actually think you're going to start to see different DAOs essentially form their own blockchains and then interact via IBC with the Ethereums or the hub. I just think it's going to be much more ergonomic, and the user experience is going to be a lot better for governance when you just have sort of social coordination taking place in that way. So I'm really excited for folks like Common Stack, who are doing all sorts of great work in that world, and some of the stuff that Gnosis is doing on governance and DAOs. As IBC hits that community and they start to sort of understand and leverage that, I think you're going to see decentralized governance and the DAO space really blow up, empowered by IBC.
Totally. I mean, you have a blockchain that, with interchain accounts or with a governance module basically becomes the scale of the most simple multi-sig to a multi-sig that has an entire state machine built into it that can express the most, complicated versions of logic that should go into sort of governance or shared management of assets or sort of decision making. Huge sort of design space there. And yeah, you're right. When they get it, they'll freak out. Maybe really quickly, I mean, foam has come up a couple times, and I feel like sometimes the point of proof of location goes over people's heads really quickly. With Regent, is it that you guys are sort of verifying different types of activity that has environmental impacts? Would proof of location be something like, I can prove that this device was on this farm and that it measured this pH balance in the soil?
Right. So it just gives you an extra layer. I mean, at launch, sort of as we mature into a more sort of decentralized and what I call intersubjective sort of monitoring and verification environment, that sort of information around, yes, I have a secondary proof that my phone was in a specific place, when I uploaded that photo or I uploaded that data, or this IoT device was verified here. For us, it's less. I mean, I think foam also has this enormous use case for self-driving cars, and where there's sort of like rate, velocity, and precision around geospatial location is really important. And for us, it's more like, yes, we have secondary verification that this device is where it says it was, or this identity was where it says it was, and that adds a layer of proof to a claim that's being made. And so for us, it's a little bit less of, we're going to avoid the Suez Canal getting clogged up by bad driving, and a little bit more like, yeah, we have an extra attestation that gives credence to this claim that's being made, which increases its market value.
Super cool. And Jeffrey, I mean, IrisNet is just one of the projects that you're involved with. Bianji, the company who's built out most of IrisNet, is also working with Wenchang and the Blockchain Service Network, the sort of network of open permission blockchains across China. Is this what you're sort of excited for, to be joining the IBC gang? Do you think that's anytime soon, or is it somewhere else entirely that you're sort of excited to see IBC gang have more members?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, but the first and the most exciting thing I would like to see is that still the connection, many connections connected between the Cosmos Hub and other networks, and people will see that how these things is amazing. This independent security works. I think still few understand about this from the community members. Yeah, and from our side, we will still pushing the enterprise things forward this year. We will support like we will have other collaborations like from the data chain. One team from the Japan will working together. We are working on some IBC connections with the Hybrid Fabric, and other permission blockchains to be connected by the IBC. And we will also make many other permission blockchains also integrated with the IBC, like from the many permission blockchains in China. That this kind of things can also be connected with IBC by IBC.
Mm-hmm. Which is one of the coolest parts of IBC, right? That it doesn't really differentiate between permissioned, private, and fully public. Networks that you can have your compliant government standards or whatever your risk profile for your company that sort of handles who's allowed to produce blocks under what conditions, and still bring in live assets from live public networks that have been issued in sort of a much broader capacity, and use them in your local context. And also the same way, issue and deploy your local assets to a much larger, more public ecosystem. Super, super cool.
Yeah.
And Adam, who do you have at the top of your list for yourself personally to join the IBC gang, and sort of professionally in a larger scope?
I mean, I think just, I echo what everybody else has said, but most especially, I think we just, like the bridge to Ethereum, I think is the number one. There's been, if you look at all the innovation that's happened on Ethereum itself, in spite of the ridiculous, the network fees and things like that, it's just really an amazing thing to see. And I think that these bridges, or gateways into the Cosmos ecosystem, is going to be gateway drugs, and people are going to really see, like, I could do all this stuff with so much lower fees. It's going to bring in a lot of new ideas into the ecosystem. Really looking forward to that.
Super cool. So we've got a couple minutes left. Maybe quickly I can ask each of you, have you transferred an atom yet? Dean, have you transferred an atom either with a relay or with Keplr yourself?
I have not yet transferred an atom.
Oh my gosh.
I have transferred many things in IBC before today, but I have not yet transferred an atom.
Nothing's like the real
I have been,
deal.
watching you, Billy. It's just too fascinating.
And Gregory, have you had the chance to transfer an atom yet?
I have to, I have to say.
Oh my God.
I have not.
Oh
I'm sorry. I feel so embarrassed. I can claim to have done some previous IBC transfers, but not since it went live on the hub.
I see Jeffrey and Adam. You're scrambling in the background, trying to find that
Put me on the
URL.
You've been too busy.
No. Actually, I myself haven't transferred yet.
Oh my gosh. IBC gang, 4 out of 4, not a single IBC token transfer between them.
Well, I mean, and there's a real thing here where we're connecting big systems over IBC. And so it's not, yes, it's interesting to do the one atom transfer, but what I want is software on one end that is deciding to do transfers with software on the other end. That's the goal. And that just starts in a different place. So,
we're way too galaxy.
I'll use that as my excuse. How's that?
Yeah.
Good excuse. Cool milestone. Why don't I set the goalposts just a little bit further? All right. Thanks everybody for joining. Great to see you, IBC gang. Thanks for coming to the launch party, everybody.
Very excited about transfers. Awesome. Great that it's out now. Thank you.
Thank you.